Oh my god, guys, I'm finally gonna do my review for Escaping from Houdini by Kerry Maniscalco. I literally read this 2 weeks ago and I should have filmed it 2 weeks ago, but like I was lazy and that's no excuse, but it is the excuse I'm using. But I'm excited to finally talk about this book and it was amazing. Like, if you haven't read Stalking Jack the Ripper yet, you really should. It is one of my faves. I honestly love the world and the characters so much. Just read it for Thomas Cresswell because he's amazing. But I am going to be reviewing this book and there is going to be spoilers in this book because I like always do spoiler reviews because I need to talk about the killer and all the fun things and that. But yes, I'm excited. So if you haven't read the book yet, probably don't watch too far into the review because I won't spoil things straight away, but I'm definitely going to be talking about plot later on kind of thing. So just know there's spoilers, and if you keep watching it, your own fault if you get spoiled. So let's get into it. So as I said, this book was amazing and it's so wonderful being back in the world of Audrey Rhodes and Thomas and being there with all this intriguingness, because I find these books very intriguing because I'm always trying to figure out who the murderer is and it's always like, oh my god. I'm just saying, this one actually took me a lot longer to figure out than the previous two because pretty early on I knew who the killer was in Stalking Jack the Ripper, and then in the second book I had my suspicions, and then something did happen where I was a bit like, oh what, maybe it wasn't them, but then it was them. And in this one it was very hard because there was so many suspects and just so many characters, and I'm trying to think of motives and skills, and I mean I'm probably caught up to about when Audrey Rhodes was like and I was like, oh, it's this person, and it was so good. I love circuses. It's something you should know about me. My ultimate #1 favorite book in the whole entire world is The Night Circus. For me to read this book, I was obviously going to be in love with it just because of the circus aspect. I just find them to be so magical and amazing, and it brings me so much joy, and I really want to go to a circus. Like, I've gone to one before, but it was quite a small circus and not too big, and they didn't really have like animals or anything, and I know that circuses don't have animals now, but I really want to go to like a massive circus. Like, that's my dream. I really didn't expect the Moonlight Carnival to have such a big part of the book. Like, I know it's Escaping from Houdini, but I didn't expect there to be so much circus stuff. Like, there was going to be like a smaller backdrop, but it took up most of the plot, and I wasn't even mad about that because I love it. We really did get introduced to so many amazing characters who could do so many different circus skills. Like, there was knife throwing and fortune telling and being able to swallow fire and, you know, getting out of cages and just dancing, and it was amazing. And I really did feel like this book was a mix between like the Night Circus and Caraval, because it had the really magicalness of Night Circus and the intrigue of Caraval, and I just loved it. Like, it was dangerous, but you just want to be involved. Like, that's the type of circus that I love. So I found this murder investigation to be really interesting because Caraval was meant to be really amazing nightly performances upon the RMS Etruria. So when on the first night a girl gets murdered, everyone's like, oh, it's a part of the act, what is this cool fun shit, but this person's actually dead. Each night another girl keeps getting murdered, so each night less people go to the circus and less people are outside and more people are freaking the heck out, and it's not good because this is like one of the first voyages for this ship, so the captain's freaking out, and this is one of the first times the carnival's done this, so the circus ringmaster is freaking out and everyone's freaking out and we're all like, who the heck is murdering people, what's going on? And the bodies have a tarot card left on them, and the bodies are shaped in the way that the tarot card is. So if you're like the 7 of knives, they had 7 knives skewered into your body as you're hanging upside down from the deck, you know? Like, they had all of that going on, and it's like, wow, this is very intense, you know? It really does feel like Audrey Rhodes and Thomas find murder everywhere, but I mean, there wouldn't be a book if they didn't. This case was difficult because it literally could have been anyone in the circus or someone we didn't even know or had any connection to at all. So trying to really grasp straws here because they really have no idea what to think or why people would be doing this. And the case also had a strain on their relationship that I was not for, but, you know, we needed to have plot happening here, so. Mephistopheles, I have no idea how to say the ringmaster's name. It's Mephistopheles, so I'm gonna call him M, okay? He's M. M is his name. He was a ringleader and he instantly grew attached to Audrey Rhodes. Like, he saw her and he's like, mate, I'm in love with you. So he always sought her out and was always trying to like run into her and be able to talk to her. And he was really trying to break her away from Thomas, and I was like, mate, they are endgames, leave them alone. Like, Thomas will always have my heart, but M is the type of character that I really do love. Like, he's snarky, he's inappropriate most of the time, but is still a lovable character, and definitely in these historical settings, I love having these inappropriate male characters because it's just hilarious that they are like this, and the girls are always like, oh God, please stop, and then they end up loving it. Like, I love that. Saying the deal that Audrey Rose made with M was really annoying in my opinion, because she had to lie to everyone, and the way they're just like, you know, you can't tell Thomas, and I'm just like, just tell Thomas, like, you'd love him. Like, I know M told you not to, but just tell Thomas and tell him to fake it, even though Audrey Rose is like, I'm gonna tell him, and he's like, don't tell him, he won't be able to lie. And I'm just like, you should have just left him a note so that he knew, because every time he would ask you about it and Thomas knew something was wrong, he's just sitting there just like, just tell me, Audrey. And she's just like, man. And I'm just like, just talk to your mate, just talk to your fiance, you need to tell him. Like, Thomas is an amazing actor, like, he totally could have acted oblivious to all this shit going on. I have to say though, I really did love seeing Audrey Rose and Thomas in love in this book, even though he was hardly in it because it was all about M and the circus. So Thomas was always leaving and he was always never there, and I'm like, I want to see my babe, like, he's my favorite character, and he was probably in like 100 pages of the book max. I did love seeing them like sneaking kisses and him like sneaking into her room because her chaperone was helping them, and I'm like, oh my god, and like they were kissing, and like there was that time when he snuck in and he hid in her chest of clothing and M came in and then he's like, I know he's there, and I'm just like, scandalous. Also, the way that Audrey Rose thought that she could potentially have room for another in her heart, even though she loves Thomas, she always thought that it would always be Thomas, but for the fact that she realized that you can love another, have these feelings grow for other people, I thought was a really good realization for her. Like, made it all the more sweeter that she still picked Thomas. I just think it was also really crazy that Liza ran away with the circus, and it ended up being the circus that was on this boat that Audrey Rose was on, so their uncle lost his shit because he's like, mate, what are you doing? Because she's up on the stage with the mask on, because all the circus performers wear masks, but she was up there and she's wearing like nothing and she's dancing, and they're all like, oh my god, it's Liza. And she ran off with Harry Houdini and she was in love with him, but then she decides that she doesn't want to be with him and she's gonna go back to like good society because no one really knew it was her, so they haven't broken the whole entire family and made it so that they're all weirdos, and I'm happy about that. The story of the case really started to get very intense. I still couldn't figure out who this killer was, and I had so many suspects running in my head because I'm like, well, this could be this thing, and this is something that relates, and this is something that could be something, and like, you just really are grasping straws trying to figure out what's going on. When a few more clues were revealed, I realized who the killer was. So the note that Miss Crenshaw left before she died, all the daughters of these people died, and then all the wives of these people died, so they were all linked to these three men who did something, and we're trying to figure out what this something was. She left a note about how she sent this girl to jail because she got jealous that her husband said something nice, so she pretended that this girl stole something, so she got sent to jail. And so this minister, who was a friend with the wife's husband, made sure that this girl went to jail, so then when she got sick in jail, this doctor was meant to help, but he didn't, so she died. And then you find out early in the book that Andres, his fiance, was killed, but we never got a reason. So that is a big hint though. Maybe shouldn't have revealed that his fiance died, because I would never have picked it up if it wasn't for that little snippet of a like, oh, his wife died. As you're sitting there and you realize that these people are all linked, it was like, oh my god. And you find out that it's all for revenge, because he actually left them a note saying, if you don't reveal what you did, I'm just going to start killing people. So he killed the doctor's daughter, the minister's daughter, and the original husband's daughter, and then he killed the husband's wife and the minister's wife, and so all these 5 people died. And Andres had money and he sent them free tickets to come on the boat, and they're all there, and he always expected to get caught, and it was like, oh, shook off with what was happening. And then we're getting into the final performance, and Audrey Rose is up there, and I was so excited because I thought she was going to wear something scandalous, but she was just in a normal outfit, and she's up there, and then suddenly the lights go off and they go back on, and Andres has Thomas, and I was like, oh my god, and he starts choking him, and Audrey Rose is ready to kill a bitch. Like, she was ready to jump and tackle him and kill him, and I was just like, oh my god. So like, once he let go of him and he was going to chuck a knife at him, they all tackled him, and then Audrey Rose jumped on top of Thomas, and the knife that was meant to hit Thomas went into her leg, and she like passed out and she's bleeding heaps, and everyone's freaking out, and Thomas was like beside himself and he couldn't even leave her room even though he's not meant to be in there. And then she wakes up and she's got this big wound and she can't even walk properly, and she might have a limp for the rest of her life. And I was like, oh my god. But like, I really don't feel like it would have been realistic for these characters to never get hurt, because they're always chasing the murderers, and what always happens is it's just them two at the end when they're in the murder and they're gonna try and not die. So Andres was taken in, but it was just the whole idea of all this leading up. Like, I mean, Carrie Maniscalco thought up such an amazing plot and story, and I was so for it. At the end of it, we have Audrey and Em parting ways, with him being like, would you have ever really been able to love me? And she said, in another life, I think I could have. Like, she would have been happy to be with him because he was into the science stuff and she could have done different things. And Rose kind of would like to do healing or engineering. Like, she has other interests besides just cutting up bodies, and she could have pursued that with Em, and she could still pursue it with Thomas. Like, they would still be able to do that stuff, but she felt like that she found someone that really had like a flair for the interest that she did, even though Thomas, again, same interest. Again, if Thomas didn't exist, she could have been with him, but because Thomas is there, so she obviously picked Thomas. And I feel like this isn't the last we're going to hear of Em. Like, I feel in the next book we might see like some newspaper articles about Harry Houdini getting better and having Em, and we might have a little bit of a moment with that, being able to see a little bit more from him, which would be really cool. And say, when Thomas left at the end of the book to go pursue this case, I was just like, mate, where are you going? You can't leave her. Like, is this it? Is this the end? Like, is he actually leaving Audrey Rose? Because he went through so much stuff because he was so jealous and he thought Audrey Rose was going to leave him, and I just can't. Even I was so worried. And he came back onto the boat with that beautiful cane for Audrey Rose, and then they kissed, and he was saying that there was never going to be anything that would stop him from loving her. But I'm confused now, because does that mean he's still going to go into America to finish the case that they were originally going to America to fix? Or is he going to go back to England with her? And I mean, are they going to get married? Like, I want him to get married in the next book. Like, I know that she's 17 and he's 18 and they're too young, but I want to see a wedding. They got to go back so they can talk to Audrey Rose's dad so they can have approval. And I don't know, like, I mean, is he, I don't really know what the conclusion was at the end of this book. Like, it's not, obviously, it's not the conclusion of the whole series, but like, what happened there? And like, seriously, he used the ship name. Like, she put the ship name that we have for the characters in the book, because the ship name, because it's Wadsworth and Crestfall. I was just like, hey, we should be Crestworth, and I'm like, oh my god, like, can you actually make that your last name so you can have like babies that are named after your ship name? I was so excited that the author did that. It was so amazing. I absolutely loved this story, and I'm so glad I read it because I needed to read it straight away. Like, I'm still doing all my Throwing Glass rereads. I had my Shadowhunter rereads, but I had to read this book, and I'm pretty sure I'm definitely going to have to read Lady Helen and the Dark Days to See It straight away, because I've been waiting for 2 years for that book that I just can't even. But anyone who hasn't read this series really needs to, and I really recommend it. Anyway guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.